So the next one, this is your topic, Gonky.
Yeah, Airbus this week for all the aviation buffs out there. They had an Airbus A321 run off the runway. So Mover, I think, or Doug.
Got it queued up, sir.
There's a video. Press play,
ready, sir. All right, and let us begin. Well, just mute it. We don't need to listen to them.
Oh, dude, the best part comes at the end. Not the screaming. It's the thrust reverser. So the runway's wet. Looks like, oh, we're getting to the end of the runway. You can tell by the stripes. Oh, boy. Yeah. So they went off the runway. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Obviously, the runway is wet. So I thought this would be good to talk about. You know, I know Mover, gosh, it's been a couple years ago. You made a pretty good video about like the differences between flying commercial airplanes and fighters. It's pretty dramatic. So last week we talked a little bit about the takeoff part being kind of dangerous. You don't want to mess around, right? So with the landing, you know, I play that video not to speculate, not to lay blame. It's more of an illustration of, you know, an airliner, when those guys come in to land, I was really amazed coming from fighters because the Hornet, it was basically, I think it was like 6,000 foot of mid-length runway. If there's more than quarter-inch standing water, take a trap. That was like your landing guidance. Nothing out of the ordinary. Well, having flown the Airbus, before you land at any airport, the airplane will start squawking at you. Hey, put in the destination data. And what it wants to know exactly the runway, the approach, exactly the weather, the runway conditions, everything, because it's going to calculate the exact distance and what type of braking that you need to get it stopped. And there's all kinds of safety factors built in there. So I know these guys did that. The airplane will just squawk and yell at you. There's no way you can miss it. It's just a good example of, like, even in the States, like every year or so, you know, especially in the winter, an airplane runs off the runway, and you put in braking conditions too for in the winter. But these guys touched down on a wet runway, and I don't know if anybody's ever taken a look at aircraft brakes, but they're like race car brakes. I mean, it's got anti-skid. There's like carbon fiber. I mean, they're really, really good. Even in the wet, I'm really surprised at how good they grab. But you can tell it wasn't going as planned, because towards the end, those guys engage the thrust reversers, and usually that's something you initiate like at touchdown. You put the thrust reversers in. These guys obviously saw the runway coming up and were like, "Oh, she ain't stopping." So I've had a couple incidents where I thought I was going to go off the end. Probably the worst was in a Hornet, Super Hornet, where I landed on a wet runway just like these guys did. And I stood on the brakes. And it's one of those things where you push on the brakes, you get a lot of braking, and then you start pushing more and there's no more. And you got what you got. And I used every inch of that runway. And I did what these guys tried to do. I actually turned off the end at the exit on the paved surface, so I didn't go off. But that was close. So you can do everything right, have the performance data, and you can still have accidents like this. But it's just a good example of, like, hey, takeoff and landing is no time to joke around. I mean, I don't know, Mover, you've got a little bit of time in a Boeing product. You guys are, when you land them, I mean, you get the landing data, the whole 9 yards, or what?
Is there ever a time where you wouldn't use thrust reversers in the Airbus? That was like every, really? Yeah. Okay. So in the 737, it was every landing. You're always on the reversers. Yeah.
In fact, our SOP now is so they call it green procedures, right? Trying to save
for the environment.
The environment. So instead of full flaps, it's like one from full, so flaps 3 and then no thrust reverser. Which it wouldn't surprise me it wouldn't surprise me if that's what these guys were doing. And you can put that in, and if the data comes back as it can do it, you do it. You have the data, right? But I mean, like I said, you can do. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like,
on this than me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me, if these guys, did everything right, and it's just so happened, something like this.
Yeah, that adds perspective, because I would have thought, oh, well, they forgot to do the thrust reversers because, the no thrust reversers, and then they go off the runway, which means maybe one caught, the other one didn't, something. But that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I read that. I read that in one of the speculations that, hey, one thrust reverser engaged, which caused them to swerve, which I will say also part of the green procedures is min thrust reverse. So basically idle reverse. And I will tell you, if you don't get the throttles or thrust levers all the way into reverse, you'll have one that pops and one that doesn't, because this happened to me. And even at idle, the yaw is significant. It will wake you up.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
hey, Gonky, you've taught me something today. I mean, I had no idea. These are all new facts for me.
Well, yeah. What's funny is I fly some of the guys I fly with, if it's even remotely slightly short or wet, they're like, dude, we're doing flaps full max reverse. Like, well,
that's like single engine taxi, right? Everybody, it's like, for let's save the environment, but nobody does it because it's such a risk that you will forget something. 100%. A pack or something will be off, and then you're like, oh God, I got to do this whole checklist right before we take off.
Yeah, nothing's worse when you're like, cruising around Newark. There's 100 airplanes around you, and the captain's like, start number 2. You're like, huh?
Yeah, what? No. Oh, wait, come on. It's the Airbus, dude. What is it? Just on? It's just that's switch true. On. You don't have to do the conductor drill.
No, that's true. It is much easier, but still, for a guy that doesn't fly much, it's hard. Come on, man.
Yes, that one switch is obviously straining all of your capabilities there.
But hey, the moral of the story is thankfully nobody got hurt. So we can all learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I don't have anything to add because 737 is a totally different beast, and that's
probably has better brakes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it has pretty good brakes.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have the brake settings you check? It goes RTO 1, 2, 3, just max. It depends on how
even easier, bro. Low, medium, and max.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ludicrous speed. Go.
That's right. This is built the Gonky spec.